Juniper, Juniper. There must be a song. Couldn't we? Surely between us, we could come up with a song for Juniper.
Indeed. And that's all we're going to talk about today is our lyrics for the song. It's more of a spoken word, um,
It's a spoken word.
beatnik
Well,
kind of poetry, but we'll make it happen.
all right. So what we have now with Juniper, because we've been waiting, everybody's waiting. I've got all kinds of theories about Juniper, which many of my theories nobody else believes except me. No, no. I have so many people on X who believe, who agree with me, but we'll see whether you do or you don't. Let's start though with the rollout. And I don't know what you are thinking about the rollout. We haven't had this conversation, but over the course of the last 7 days, we've heard from, we saw some kind of a posting from Berlin, which said they were hiring people for the Juniper, that they're starting to switch over in January, and that they should be ready to ship in February. We've seen lots of visuals in the U.S. of Junipers, or at least what appear to be Junipers camouflage. And then we've heard that it will roll out of China after Chinese New Year. Again, rumor, and that the ones they're making now, which we heard all these rumors that they're making 2,400 a day already, that those are on ships and they're headed to other countries so that they can do this international all on one day right after Chinese New Year. What are your thoughts? Have you heard any of these? Do you dispute any of these? Do you believe any? What are your thoughts?
Wow. So that's 500 questions. I'll do my best. The 2,400 a day is a single source rumor from an account in China that may or may not be the most credible.
Okay.
I know that after I engaged with that post, I was contacted by one of my followers who said, just so you know, here's the background on that user. And 2,400 out of the gate would be the wrong number. That's just much too high. That could be the ramp number, but out of the gate wouldn't make sense. Wouldn't make sense at all. We know Shanghai is ready to change over. They're probably changing over right now. We know that in China, apparently the order book was opened for Juniper. That means it is imminent. We've seen trucks carrying them off site as long as over a month ago. This is happening in China first, unquestionably. How soon will the other factories follow? If they are hiring more people in Berlin to run the Juniper line, that means they are setting it up in parallel with the existing line. That gives you two bits of information. We knew they had the space for more lines than they were currently running. What this means is that, like the changeover to the Highland, and history is our best guide on this, on what to expect. When they changed over the Model 3 Highland in China last time, they started with a particular model and then expanded to the other models. They did this because they had two lines. They changed over one of them. What if something goes wrong? What if we end up down for 3 weeks or 3 months? Are we really going to shut off the second biggest model in our second biggest market? Can't do it. So they, from their most productive factory, can't do it. So with the Model Y, I would expect to see the same thing as much as possible. In China, they're not doing that. In China, it appears that they're just doing a whole changeover all at once and that they feel confident doing it. In Berlin, they're adding another line, and the two data points we gather from this are that they will be doing Berlin imminently, and when they are finished, they will have double the capacity. Now, it's possible that that first line switches over to making Model 3. I would love to see that. But if not, it means that they've got more Model Y capacity. The Juniper is believed to be a cheaper car to manufacture that will be produced at a greater rate of speed. So even one line could satisfy current levels of demand. They could even add more shifts to that line. So it would be nice for them to have one of the two possible outcomes, and they will have one of these, which is they will have more than double the capacity for Model Ys in Berlin, or they will have slightly higher Model Y capacity, but also Model 3 capacity.
Which would take some pressure off of China.
Yes. Well, and the Model 3 from China to Europe has a 10% import tariff.
Yeah, right.
So, or to Germany at least. So that is something we would be looking for, or no, to all of Europe, all of the EU
Right. Yes,
countries.
all of you.
So yeah, it would now be perhaps beneficial to do that. It is between the existing import tariffs, in addition to the 10%, it would now be cost effective to do that. So that could happen. Now let's talk Texas. That's the another big Model Y factory. I've seen equipment going in that I've been believing is for a parallel line. I believe they would be doing the same thing, making that a model, the new model on the new line, while they are still making the old model on the existing line. And again, when they finish, what are you left with? Either vastly more Model Y capacity, which is great because with the new model, there will be more demand, period. I know a lot of people who are waiting for it to make any move. And I know a lot of people who don't want to make a move who will to get the Highland. That's a big deal.
Juniper, the Juniper. Yeah.
The Juniper, thank you. And that's going to just move a bunch of units right out of the gate. So then the question is, in Texas, would they consider making Model 3s? Because if they did, that would give them an opportunity to do some long overdue remodeling in Fremont, and maybe even stop making Model 3s there entirely. But it remains to be seen. And then, of course, in Fremont, I haven't heard any rumors there. We've seen the test vehicles extensively in the Northern California area, but that's because that's where the design and engineering is still handled. So I don't have as good of a barometer on what's going on in Fremont. I know there's new footage out this week from Fremont that I have not yet had a chance to watch, because in just a few days, I'm flying down to Texas to observe test launch 7.
Yes. Good for you. You'll be very excited from a boat, no less.
From a boat.
No less. Well, that'll be extremely exciting. Okay, so it sounds to me like you would not be one who would think that it's all going to happen simultaneously the first week of February, but maybe it would be up on all the websites at the same time where orders could be taken.
That's a great question. So I don't think it would happen all at once. I think it's too many moving pieces, and they didn't do it with the Model 3. The difference being the Model Y is a much bigger seller. So I think they have the desire to do it all at once. I don't think they have the capacity to do it all at once. And I don't think we will see orders opened until they have a concrete date for deliveries. So yeah, I think I don't think they'll accept orders until they've started building saleable units.
All right, so my polling suggests, now you mentioned a second ago that you know people that are waiting for the model for the Juniper upgrade. So this divides into 3 categories. One is there are people that do not own a Tesla vehicle at all, or they have a Model 3 or some other non-Model Y, who wish to have a Model Y, but we're like, no way am I going to get the old Model Y. I'm waiting for the Juniper. You have a second category, which is people who currently own a Model Y, who are like, yeah, as soon as that Juniper comes out, I'm going to upgrade. And in my polling, that was as high as 25% of current, and maybe even as high as 37. The probably number would have taken it to 37% of current Model Y owners might be looking to switch. Then you've got the ones who are waiting for the Cybertruck. That's about 16% that could go either way. My polling, remember, is not statistically significant. It's on X. It's got a definite bias. But whatever it is, I'm showing 16% roughly, and 3 different polls, about the same number, about 16% that could go either way. They could go Cybertruck, they could Juniper, but they would not have gone to the old Model Y. I'm looking like we could be seeing a very big explosion of sales when this thing pops.
That is what I'm expecting. In my recent video where I discussed Tesla's 2025 headwinds and tailwinds, one of the things I mentioned is, so a headwind is these factories will be down for a little while and need to re-ramp. With the tailwind being, they're going to sell a lot of them. The demand is going to be strong. If we see the pricing remain the same as it is today, which is what we saw with the Model 3 refresh, then it's going to be gangbusters, because there are people who do not need a car who will buy this, who want this. And the real benefit there is Most people don't buy new cars. Most people buy used cars. Most people, given the opportunity, will buy a gently used car, maybe one that still has warranty. Those are going to be more affordable on the secondary market, which means it will open the market itself to new Tesla owners, people who can't afford to pay full price for a brand new car. And if they make a 7-seat version right out of the gate, I may I may try my best to see if I can get in line as well.
There you go. All right, since we're on the subject, we've talked about the Model 3 a lot. When the Model 3 came out last year, I thought it should go gangbusters. And part of my reasoning was because you showed me, because I didn't realize it, and nobody else did either. You were the one who broke the news that there's still a lot of sedans sold in the United States. There's a lot of sedans sold in Europe. There's a lot of sedans sold in China. And the Model 3 came out with fabulous, fabulous reviews. The reviews have only got better as the year has progressed. Everybody seems to love the Model 3. What the heck? Why isn't it selling way more than it is? The price is right. They got the $7,500 deal here in the US. What is going on with Model 3?
What makes you think it's not selling well? Because our sales figures that we get lump 3 and Y together.
Right.
We don't know what the actual split is. Part of it, I assume, is just, the economy at large. There are a lot of people who are not in a position to spend the kind of money it takes to buy a new car. And I think it is, I've driven it. I've driven the performance one. I've taken it to track day. It is a very exciting, fun car to drive. I don't know what would make it sell better. I've heard people say, well, what it really needs is to be a hatchback.
Oh,
Well, maybe we will see that in 2025. Maybe that's what the 2.5 more
really
affordable
is.
model is. It would be, I mean, would it be crazy? Not at all. So I don't know. I mean, you can't make people buy it. It's outselling, BMWs and Mercedes. That's kind of all you can ask for. You'd like it to outsell Accord or Camry, but those also have brand reputation, 30, 40 years of brand loyalty built in. There are people who are buying the Honda Prologue because it's a Honda, which it isn't. It's a Blazer with CarPlay, and right there, that's an advantage. But Honda's not making money on it. And if you look at in terms of legacy sales, I don't know if you saw this headline, but the Mustang Mach-E outsold the Mustang.
Wow.
Yeah. So times they are a changing. And
Changing.
as much as I love sedans, if I was young and single and exciting and all that, the Model 3 would be my car. I wouldn't bother with the Model Y. I wouldn't need the extra space. I want the sportier feel of it, the slightly better efficiency. But the Model Y, that form factor is where it's at. You look at every new EV coming out. Lamborghini teases an SUV, teases an EV, and it's an SUV. What's that about? That's very weird. So I don't know. It's pretty different times.
Okay, so now let's talk just quickly about Reno and the Cybertruck factory. I really only had one question there. I look at the size of that factory and I say to myself, that factory can do way more than 50,000 trucks. What do you think?
It is about 1 million square feet. It is vastly larger than, for example, the Kenworth factory. How many gigawatt hours of power of cells do you think Nevada makes? Because when they announced that they were going to build it, it was something like 30 or 35 gigawatt hours a year.
Yeah.
50,000 trucks would require about 40 gigawatt hours of cells. I think batteries will be the rate limiter on semi. So I don't care what the factory can make. I'm concerned with what the battery supply will be able to handle.
Well, there's lots of new battery supply coming online. Theoretically, we've got the 40 gigawatt hours that we bought from CATL, the equipment that
But
supposedly,
they, but that's all LFP. They wouldn't be using that in the semi. They could make more rear wheel drive Model Ys with that,
yeah.
rear wheel drive Model 3s, but that's only going to free up 5, 10 gigawatt hours of 2170s.
So
So
Looking out
Yeah.
though, looking out beyond 2026, because the 50,000 run rate or 40 to 50,000 run rate on the semis was for 2026. If we were looking at 2027, just purely in terms of the size of the facility, would you agree with me that if that's all they're going to do in that facility, it can make more than 50,000 trucks?
Without a doubt, without question. So I will share with you, Randy, I will give your viewers something that I don't know if I've given my viewers, which is the exclusive on where the batteries are coming from.
Oh,
And the answer is Oklahoma. I think it's Oklahoma where the new Panasonic
oh,
factory is
okay.
that is going to be making 4680 cells for Tesla.
Ah,
Those will go to Texas. The cells that have currently been going from Nevada to Texas to build Model Ys, those will now go to Texas instead, a much shorter route, less distance for those atoms. We just talked about that.
sure.
And that means that the capacity in Nevada that's currently being diverted to Texas can remain in Reno to build semis. If we're looking at 26, 27, there's time to increase capacity at Giga Nevada, even if they have to add more square footage, which is something that Panasonic has already said that they would be doing. So that's how you get enough cells, not in 2025, but beyond 2025. And can that factory build more than 50,000 units? I'd say absolutely yes.
Okay. All right. Let's talk just really quickly about overall expectations for shipments in 2024. You mentioned that you did that video the other day where you talked about the headwinds and the tailwinds.
2025.
I'm sorry, 2025. I even wrote it down wrong on my script. What's wrong with me here?
Well,
Anyway,
I have a long list of explanations to answer that question, but I think
we don't
that's
have time.
another
We don't have
video.
time. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, we
yeah.
don't have time.
It's another video
It's another video.
series.
Elon is saying 20 to 30% increase. I say
Ooh.
that unsupervised FSD happens. Katie bar the door. They will just have to max capacity every factory. And you say,
If FSD is solved in the first half of the year, level level let's just say level 4, level 5, in the first half of the year, so you've got the whole second half of the year to do your growth. Yeah, hold on to your butt. But let's say it doesn't. Let's say
okay,
it happens at the very end of the year or
okay,
not at all.
all right.
Late in, second half of Q4, if at all, introducing a lower cost model based on the Model 3 and Y that can be manufactured on the same lines. Let's revisit what we just said about Berlin and Texas, where they're going to have a whole extra line. If that line, if the new line is making the Juniper and the old line is available, and that can make the lower cost model, you could absolutely see 20 to 30% growth from that. I'm waiting to see what that lower cost model is. We don't know yet. It
Right.
could be it could be just a stripped down Mexico edition Model 3 like we've seen shipped out from Shanghai, but it could be something new and exciting based on that car, just very similar to a Model 3 or Y, but a slightly different shape or packaging. That alone could easily give us 20 to 30% growth.
Okay. And of course, the Model Y we've just talked about, we could see some significant growth from the Model Y. Do you
And
see
Cybertruck growth.
in Cybertruck growth? So all of those categories would all be providing us with, so the 20 to 30%, do you think that that's a sandbag number, even if FSD isn't solved, or do you think that's about right?
I think it's about right.
Okay.
We don't have evidence that the factories have that much more headroom without costly and time consuming expansion,
Oh,
which
okay.
is not, which we don't know if it's underway.
Okay. That's another show also, because I have said repeatedly, in fact, I thought you and I even talked about it, that the existing buildings we could get to maybe 3.6 million are
I'm sure we've had that discussion.
okay. All right. Okay. And I thought you agreed with me.
Yes, we can get them
Okay.
to that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But we have we have to see it happen.
Got
And
it.
we haven't seen we need the receipts.
I got it. All right. Perfect. All right. Thank you again, Brian. As always, I think you handled my questions in a way that was so good because there was hardly any disagreement. I love it when we don't disagree.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
pretty rare. I mean, we won't bring up pineapple on pizzas, so I think we'll do okay.
You don't like pineapple on
Oh
pizza?
no, I do. I
Oh,
do.
you
I
do.
just know it
Oh,
causes, we're West Coast folk. Don't blame us. It's how we were raised.
yeah. With that. Anyway, follow this guy over on Futuraza. I almost, there is a problem.
I
There
do. I do know. Next big Futuraza.
big Futuraza.
Mm-hmm.
And you're both named Brian. I mean, it's just like
Mm-hmm. Brian W.
in a
Mm-hmm.
W. I know his gets anyway, follow him on the actual Futuraza channel. You can follow Brian Wang too, but
Yeah, yeah.
this is when I have Brian White on. So follow him on Futuraza. All right, Brian, appreciate it. And to all of you out there, it has been great talking to you.